Everyone, Tanya Hertz here. We're going to talk a little bit more about leadership. And I just wanted to start this section with a little quiz. And so if you could get out a piece of paper, paper, or you can do it on your electronic device, number 1 to 10, and answer the following questions. So I'll share my screen here. So, true, false. Is brainstorming in a group more effective than brainstorming alone? True, false. First 5 minutes of a negotiation, are they as important as the rest? So is that first 5 minutes just a warm up to the actual negotiation? True, false. Number 3, the best way to help somebody reach their goals is to encourage them and tell them to do their best. Number 4, if you pay somebody to do a task that they routinely enjoy, they will do it even more often in the future. Is that true? 5, pay is a major determination of how hard somebody will work. So is there a correlation there, and is it a large correlation? 6, if a person fails the first time, the next time, will they try harder? Is that true? They will try harder. 7, people perform better if goals tend to be easier, more easily attainable. 8, most people within organizations make effective decisions. True, false. By and large, right? These are only aggregate. 9, positive people are more likely to withdraw from their jobs when they're dissatisfied. So withdrawal behaviors or behaviors, you guys are now all seniors, so you should know this. Withdrawal behaviors are behaviors like coming in late, calling in sick, daydreaming, not showing up, not putting in 100%, right? So positive people, as opposed to negative people, are more likely to withdraw if they're not happy. And number 10, teams with one smart person outperform teams in which everyone is of average intelligence. And that's in general with teams. And we're not talking about, additive tasks versus, conjoint. We're just talking about in general. And all of these are in the aggregate in general. I'm not going to give you the answers right now. I'll do it at the end. But you're thinking leadership is common sense, right? Why are we studying this? It's common sense. It's not always common sense. Sometimes it is completely opposite of common sense. And the trick is learning which of the topics, the times, the lessons in leadership are based around common sense. Common sense is ambiguous, right? Meaning it's not clear. It's difficult to know. And if we could just rely on common sense and that worked, I would be out of a job. I wouldn't be teaching this class, right? It's much more than common sense. And when we are looking at leadership results and what works, what's effective and what's ineffective, we look in the aggregate, we look at in general, and then we make predictions about how specific individuals are going to behave based on how the group behaves, right? So individually, one person might say, pay is extremely important to me. I care about that more than any other, any other factor when determining whether or not I'll be happy at my job. I'll work hard at my job. But who cares what one person thinks? We want to know what the most of the people think, because then we can set up systems and processes, and we can set up operations for our organization. And when we have then those organization operations outlined, then we don't have to think about what to do with each individual person, right? So another myth that we see in leadership is that leaders are born, not made. Well, we know that there are some traits, some personality traits, cognitive ability are partly innate, partly based on our genes, about 50% of them. But then 50% is due to our environment and our choice. And so leaders are both born and made. We can even change our personality, right? We can affect our mood, our personality, our intelligence. It takes time, but we can absolutely do that. And we can develop skills of successful leaders in a relatively short amount of time. Leadership programs, even weekend leadership programs, can have an impact on your performance and on your skill levels, and you can see real results. Okay. So this is another misconception that I've seen. more than once. The only school that you learn leadership from is the school of hard knocks, right? Life experience. You don't know how to be a leader unless you've led, unless you get out there and do it, right? I could tell you all day long about leadership until you actually lead. You're never going to learn how to be a leader. And, you know, there's something to be said for experience. And I personally, when I'm hiring people, I care a lot about experience and the fact that they've done something. But that does not mean that you can't teach people how to be a leader. So formal study, this what we're doing right now, this codified learning, this theoretical understanding, it complements experiential learning. And I would be hard pressed to find somebody who's really excellent in leadership, particularly at business leadership, without that formal underlying education. Right? This is one of the things that you should start with. You should start with formal education, and then you move on to that experiential learning. That's why it's really important to get like an internship. We have so many interns who work for me. In fact, if you guys want an internship, we're hiring more interns at the rec. Just let me know. But that gives you that experiential component after you have that formal study. Okay, so students have to learn about leadership from their own experience. That is absolutely true, but you can't do that until you have some sort of underlying theoretical knowledge. And I'll tell you what, when we're going through this course, I promise you, those of you who've had a job or have a job right now will be thinking about, I recognize what she's talking about in this interaction that I've had before, in this thing that's happened at work or that thing that's happened at work. You will you'll have a frame of reference when you've had a job, and it makes the learning that much better. So they both are important, they both complement each other, and really you become a leader both by learning and by doing. So the framework that we use for analyzing leadership is as such. I already told you this in the last video: leader, follower, and situation. All three equally important, although the situation tends to be a little bit more ambiguous. And they overlap. So starting with the leader. So, I should say this. Leadership scenarios, when we're looking at particular scenarios, we can break it down and analyze the different scenarios or the different situations separately, by each component separately. But I think I should avoid. We found in research that it's even better to look at them together, right? Look at the areas where those, areas overlap. Look at the situations where the areas overlap, and that's what's going to give you the best understanding of a situation and of leadership in general, right? So leadership, like we said, it's that the followers, the leaders, the situation, and really it's that those complex interactions that leaders have between the three. And there are a lot of different there are many different things that can play a role on whether or not you are an effective leader, or they can disrupt the correlation and make your influence greater or lesser. And there's the other video that you're going to see in Canvas. It's called Leadership, and it has the little bubbles on the front of it. It talks about some of the factors that can influence your performance as a leader. Things like whether or not people can see that you're a leader, right? So we can still have power as a leader even without a formal title, but a formal title can help. Another thing that can have an impact is whether or not your subordinates are in the in-group or the out-group. And in-group employees or subordinates tend to be those employees that are very committed and loyal, and they automatically are very trusting of the leader. It's easier to influence them, and for them to influence you than those out-group followers. So the individuals also play an impact on leadership efficacy or success, and those include things like the background, the education, the knowledge, the experience, the industry knowledge, the personality traits, the KSAOs or KEEPs, knowledge, education, experience, personality, passion, skill set of the people all play an impact. And also people's moods and temperaments, which are a little less permanent and more fleeting. And another thing that can play a role on whether or not you are an effective leader or on the entire leadership situation is how you actually become a leader, right? Did you get the lead? Did you acquire the leadership position through an appointment, right? Did somebody say, for example, if we were you're doing these team projects, if I were to pick the team leader for your teams, that team leader would have less loyalty, less trust, less buy-in from the group than if you elected your own leader and you did it by consensus and you did it based on merit. That's how a leader can very quickly have more power and more a better impact. So another thing that can influence efficacy is how much experience that leader has in the industry and in the company, and whether or not they participate in the process, right? Are they are they collaborative, or are they delegative, autocratic? What style of leadership does that leader use? All of these will have an impact on leader performance and leader efficacy. Okay? So